Now, I know that Game Week 34 isn't even over yet, but that doesn't stop me making some more content for you guys. So here is players to buy and avoid for Game Week 35. Now, similar to how I've been starting most of my buy and avoid videos recently, you have to be cognizant of the upcoming fixtures when deciding who to spend your transfers on. You can't be buying players just for one game week. You know, the decisions you make now will have an impact on your end rank at the end of the season. So you really have to look longer term for the next 4 game weeks as to who the best transfers are. And using the fixtures to do that, we can quite clearly see there are some stronger teams than others. So focusing really on teams with a double game week. Brighton still have 2 double game weeks to go, 36 and 37. Chelsea, I'm not really sure about them, especially that double game week in 37. Man City and Man United, I'm not sure that even counts as a double game week, to be honest. Man City and Man United both got decent doubles in 37, so you'd have your eye on those targets. And then Newcastle as well, a fixture against Arsenal, but to be honest, I don't see that as too difficult of a challenge for them. They seem to have been pretty free scoring in their recent games, and Arsenal have not looked amazing defensively, so I would not let Game Week 35 against Arsenal put me off Newcastle targets. And then Leeds and Brighton in Game Week 36, I think, is a really nice double for them as well. So there are 3 or 4 teams I think we should be focusing on. So then my first player that I'm eyeing up to buy is David De Gea. I'm pretty sure I should have done so in Game Week 34, to be honest. Raya, it's recording this on Sunday morning, and Raya has unfortunately just blanked against Nottingham Forest after I think Nottingham Forest only had 1 shot on target, which is really quite disappointing. And I don't know why, but I just didn't consider David De Gea as an option, and now I've thought back, he probably really is. And I know previous videos I've said that I'd be avoiding the Man United defence, but looking at the partnership that Shaw and Lindelof have seemed to have formed in that defence, they seem to be replacing Maguire, Martinez and Varane pretty well, although Maguire doesn't really need replacing in my opinion. He's got the most clean sheets of all Premier League goalkeepers so far with 14. He's averaging 2 saves per game, which is obviously pretty close to the magic for the saves bonus points. So yeah, I just think he's a really good option. And when you weigh him up against Ederson, who is a popular keeper at the moment as well, people are looking to bring Ederson into their teams. I think De Gea is a better option, purely because he's not only kept more clean sheets, but he makes more saves. And ultimately in FPL, I think I'd rather a goalkeeper that makes saves than actually gets clean sheets, because, well, especially this season, there have not been many clean sheets recently. So looking towards saves is probably the way to go. And just looking at the fixtures ahead as well, West Ham, Wolves, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Fulham. That's a great little run there. And you might be put off by the Chelsea game, but I think Man United Chelsea is literally the most 0-0s in Premier League history in one fixture. So that one's got, almost for me at least, 0-0 sort of written all over it really, where both teams cancel each other out. So yeah, I think David De Gea is a great option. Now this guy literally got one of the best assists I've ever seen in Game Week 33, and it didn't even count as an assist. Absolutely shocking. It's Alexander Isak from Newcastle. I think just looking at his value, 6.7 million is absolutely unbelievable value for the upside that he provides. His underlying numbers this season have been ridiculous. 0.75 expected returns per 90 is literally on the same level as Mo Salah. He's got, in my opinion, a better injury record than Wilson, although he has spent a bit of time on the sidelines this season. Wilson, I don't even think you can back to play 90 minutes, whereas Isak, even when he comes off the bench, he's dangerous. But I just feel he's becoming more favoured in that Newcastle team than Wilson is, and proving what he did in 33 with that assist, he can play on the left-hand side quite capably as well. So I would not be put off by, change of position, playing up front alongside Wilson, getting benched. He still seems to score points whatever happens. And that double in 36, Leeds and Brighton, I think he's the best Newcastle asset on paper. And to be honest, he could be a captaincy shout in Game Week 36 as well. Just looking at those underlying numbers, comparing him to the likes of Haaland, he's not too far off Haaland. And with one extra fixture in Game Week 36, I think he could be a decent captain. So yeah, when making transfers decisions in 35, I think, doubles coming up really makes sense to target those with players you bring in. And I think that double in 36 is an absolute plum double for Isak. And also the Arsenal fixture at home in 35. I said this when going through the fixtures, but I'm not entirely sure that would put me off. I've already got Isak, so I don't have to make the decision this week, but Arsenal at home for Newcastle, Arsenal have not looked amazing defensively. I think they've conceded in pretty much every game that Saliba has been injured for, and I think that will continue against Newcastle, especially at St James's Park. Newcastle so free scoring, Isak so free scoring. I think he'll have a good game against Arsenal and for the rest of the game weeks this season. And just expanding on Newcastle, really, I think with that double in 36 coming up, I think it makes sense if you're not already to try and triple yourself up on Newcastle assets. First of all, they're attacking really well and free scoring, lots of goals, which looks really good. Although, who is nailed from that attack, I'm not sure you can really say. But I think Wilson and Isak are great options. I definitely order Isak and Wilson, Isak being better than Wilson as an option, just because of injury record and expected minutes. And I know they've not been keeping clean sheets recently, but I don't think anyone can say they've been defending badly. I think it's probably just almost a bit of variance catching up with them, really, in terms of, you know, the run they went on defensively at the start of the season, or just after the World Cup, I think it was, wasn't it? They got lucky with some of those goals that they didn't concede. Either the opposition were missing chances, or they got really late, like niggly deflections, or Pope was making worldy saves. I think the variance has just caught up with them in recent weeks, and their performance levels haven't really dropped at all. So looking ahead to 35 and 36, you know, Arsenal at home, it's probably not a clean sheet game, but 36 definitely is. I mean, Brighton and Leeds, I think they could keep a clean sheet in both of those games. So I think going into game week 36, at least, it makes sense to be tripled up on Newcastle. Another triple up now, and you probably already are tripled up on Brighton going into game week 34, given they had, at that point, 3 doubles remaining for the rest of the season. But they've still got 2 left looking at game week 35, and if you're not already, I'd suggest really looking at tripling up on Brighton. They've got Everton at home in 35, which is one of the top fixtures for clean sheet odds for Brighton. I think they're literally top, actually. They're the most likely team in the Premier League to keep a clean sheet in game week 35, according to my friends at Drafthound. For that reason, I think if you're, you know, doubled up on midfield or got a midfielder and a striker or whatever, don't have a defender, I think it absolutely makes sense to bring in a Brighton defender going into game week 35. You know, they got a double in 36, a double in 37, and the best clean sheet odds for 35 as well. It makes total sense for me. My 3 of choice, as it always is Estupinan, March, and Matoma. And then it's not necessarily individual players to avoid, but it's just teams that I am not liking the look of at the moment. Well, not trying to say they're bad teams or their players are necessarily bad options. I just think you can do better. Apart from Chelsea, I think Chelsea are pretty woeful at the moment. And, you know, the likes of Chilwell and Kepa, they can definitely be sells. And I think some of the players that I've just mentioned, maybe Brighton defenders or David De Gea, could be good options to bring in for the likes of Kepa or Chilwell. Arsenal as well, I know, you know, I'm not suggesting they're bad options, but I think just over the next few game weeks, you know, Newcastle have got a double, Man United, Man City have got doubles, Brighton have got 2 doubles. Arsenal just have single game week fixtures for the rest of the season. And whilst they're not looking too bad, I just think you can do better. And then Tottenham, you know, the likes of Harry Kane, etc. Again, Kane seems to be, you know, getting returns in almost every game, but I just feel like you can do better and spend the money more sensibly on, you know, other players that maybe have a double game week, or spreading the funds more evenly across your team to target those double game week players. So, you know, the likes of Kane, I think, could well be sells in game week 35 as well, maybe for someone like Isak, and then using the budget to fund other moves. But yeah, that sort of summarises where I'm at the moment with teams to avoid. There's not necessarily individual players, because I've already mentioned them basically in previous videos, but I think teams to avoid are probably those 3 at the moment. And that's the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave me a like rating and subscribe down below to the Golden Goal channel. After reaching 1,000 subscribers now, I only plan to improve things on this channel. Things are just going to get bigger and better either for the rest of the season and beyond. So please subscribe to stick around. I'll see you in the next video.